Over the years of helping people with retirement planning, one of the things I've noticed is that while everyone has a unique retirement experience, there's a common pattern that almost all retirements follow. There are these distinct phases, and each of them have their own unique challenges and opportunities. And what's interesting is that these phases aren't talked about all that often. There's plenty of discussion about the financial side of retirement, but not a lot about the psychological and emotional side of retirement. And I'll tell you, I think it's important to understand these phases for anyone who is approaching retirement or has retired within the past year or two. And the reason is that if you understand what's likely on the road ahead, it should lead to a much smoother and more fulfilling transition into this new and should be exciting part of your life. Now, I'm certainly not the first one to recognize that retirees go through different stages. I believe it was Robert Ashley who first wrote about these in the Sociology of Retirement back in the 1970s. But let's face it, retirement today looks a lot different than it did in the 70s. We not only have longer life expectancies, but there's been a big shift from pensions to 401ks, which puts a lot more responsibility on individuals for their retirement savings. And then in addition to that, the traditional retirement age of 65 is no longer the standard. And we see people either choosing to work longer or in some cases retire much earlier. And we could go on for a while about all the changes from the 70s, but ultimately retirement today is different. And after watching this for the past 20 years, I've noticed that the stages that most retirees seem to experience can generally be broken down into 5 distinct phases. Phase 1 is the plan. This generally starts 2 to 3 years before retirement, and this is what sets the foundation for your retirement. This stage is all about thinking about and planning for your ideal retirement. It's a time when your dreams start to take shape and the groundwork for turning those dreams into reality. During this phase, you start to think about the financial aspect and maybe start tracking your expenses so you can get a handle on how much you'll really need in retirement. You'll start paying attention to the fees you pay because that's your money, and if you're paying too much, it could affect how long your money lasts. And this is where you may engage someone to help you create a written retirement income plan so you can get clarity on how you're going to withdraw your money, when you're going to file for Social Security, how you're going to make your income as tax efficient as possible, and if you should consider Roth conversions. During this phase, there's a lot of people who will hire a financial planner who specializes in retirement planning so they can help you spot some areas that you may not have considered. But beyond the financial side, you also start thinking about how you want to spend your days, the hobbies you want to pursue, the places you might want to travel to, and any personal goals that you may want to achieve. This phase is all about the anticipation and excitement and building that. And it's usually a lot of fun. And then the next phase is the honeymoon. Now, this phase begins on day 1 of retirement. You wake up and realize, I don't have to go to work today or ever again. I can do whatever I want to do. This is often the most anticipated stage where the initial excitement and joy of that newfound freedom are at their peak. After years of hard work and dedication, you finally get to experience the rewards of your labor and doing all of those things that you may have deferred for those decades while you were working. So this is kind of like a prolonged vacation where you don't have the constraints of a fixed schedule. It's when you're doing a lot of travel, your leisure, your hobbies, and enjoying the pleasures that were once limited by your time and work commitments. This is where a lot of our clients will take trips that they've been planning and go see the places that they've always wanted to see, exploring those new hobbies, or maybe it's just dedicating more time to the family and community activities that are important to them. But during this honeymoon phase, most people have a very high level of enjoyment, but it's also during this period they start to think about how the rest of their retirement will unfold, and this sets the stage for the next phase, and that's the reality check. This is when the initial euphoria of the honeymoon starts to fade giving way to a more realistic understanding of this new life stage. It's a period of adjustment and looking back into yourself, that introspection, where retirees often confront aspects of retirement that weren't fully anticipated or ever discussed. I recently put out a poll to my audience asking them about things that surprise them in retirement. And 58% said, spending my retirement savings is scary. Now, this is a big enough deal that I released a video on its own covering this one topic. But I do understand why this is scary, because after a lifetime of saving and accumulation, the shift to spending these savings can feel very counterintuitive, and it can cause some anxiety too. But the cure for this is simple. You need a plan that gives you clarity. The only way you'll ever have confidence in your retirement strategy is if you clearly understand the plan that you have in place. Another 22% in this poll said, not having a purpose leaves me bored. Retirement often strips individuals of their professional identities and daily routines, and that can lead to a void that needs filling. So finding new purposes, whether through hobbies, doing some volunteer working, or part-time work, which is quite often the case that we see, that becomes really important for your well-being. And then family dynamics also change. 14% of the poll respondents noted that family relationships have shifted in a negative way. Now, that's unfortunate, but it's just where we are today. We've got different roles and expectations, and sometimes when you retire, things shift so quickly and so vastly that can lead to some tensions or misunderstandings at home. So, navigating those changes requires not only open communication, but also a willingness to adapt and evolve as things start to change. And lastly, 16% of the poll respondents said that my circle of friends has changed. Retirement can bring some significant social changes. And when you leave the workforce, those friendships start to fade. And this makes it really important to build new social networks. And a lot of this will all occur during this reality check phase. And this phase isn't always fun. And what's really sad is that some retirees never move from this stage to the next stage. They just get stuck here in disgruntlement and frustration. So while this phase can be challenging, it is also the very necessary stepping stone for moving on to the next phase where the real retirement actually starts. And this is the refocus. The refocus phase of retirement is a period that is really, really important for reevaluating and adjusting your expectations and looking at what you want out of life. This is where you acknowledge that the old you is gone, the things that gave you identity, the work friends, and maybe the power. That's all behind you now, and you have to begin asking yourself, what truly makes you happy? What activities fill your days with joy, and what goals do you want to achieve in retirement? This phase isn't just about passing time. It's about rediscovering who you are without those external labels of your career. And this is something that, I wrestle with myself in wondering, will I ever retire? Because so much of who I am is baked up into this job that I do. And I certainly have a great family and I love my family, but I get it. Those external labels of our career really help to define us. And when you have a job that you have to leave and retire from, that can become difficult. When you're shaping this retirement, it has to be one that resonates with your values and how you want to be remembered, your legacy beyond just the accounts that you leave to people, how people will talk about you. And those are all things that people start thinking about in this refocus phase. And while that first phase that we talked about, where you're planning everything, that's really important, I would contend that this phase, the refocus phase, is the one that really sets your tone for the remainder of your retirement. And as retirees move through this phase, they gradually transition into what's known as the new normal. This is the last and final phase, and it's also the longest phase in retirement. Now, if they were thoughtful and intentional during the refocus phase, the new normal phase is characterized by a sense of stability and contentment. As you become accustomed to your new lifestyle and you embrace the rhythms and routines of your post-career life, that becomes the new normal. You find yourself settling into a routine that's both comfortable and fulfilling. You're usually more at ease with your financial situation because by this point, you've adjusted your lifestyle to fit your budget and you've learned to manage your expenses effectively. And those anxieties and uncertainties of those earlier phases, that's now given way to a more relaxed approach to life. And so at this point, you've learned how to balance your leisure activities, your hobbies, your family time, and maybe you're even working part-time or have started spending, a good amount of time in a volunteer role. And this is where your social relationships are often more stable and deeply rooted as well, because now these social relationships are generally defined and mixed together because of shared interest. But ultimately, the new normal phase is where the promise of retirement is really at. This is when you can really start enjoying this new stage of life. But retirement, much like life before you retire, it's just not a static state. It's a dynamic, moving process and an evolution of experiences, expectations, and being able to adapt. But if you recognize and you are prepared for these phases, you can navigate the waters of retirement with more confidence and clarity, and you can turn some of those challenges into opportunities for growth and enjoyment. And this makes retirement not just an end to something, but a new, exciting beginning. Now, I'd love to hear your comments about these phases to see which of those resonate with you, and did you go through any of those phases as well? One of my viewers has already noted that by going through what they termed the gentle slide, you can avoid some of those phases, and that's transitioning from working full-time into part-time work. And I get it. I think you could probably avoid some of those, but ultimately, a lot of people don't have that option. They're thrust from working full-time into retirement. And when that happens, in my experience at least, I've seen people experience most of these phases here. But I'd love to hear your comments down below. And if you're seeking guidance on the retirement journey, we can help you with that. We understand the nuances and complexities of retiring, and we can give you that clarity and confidence that you need for a seamless transition and walk by your side as you experience all of this for yourself. If you'd like our help, just visit our website at carrolladvisory.com. Thanks for watching.